idiots that watch that channel. I might think that free speech is one thing, but vile free speech is a whole nother thing that isn't protected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the definition of free speech? There's a definition. It's absolute.
Well, in Canada, we don't have free speech, Tony, and isn't this the irony?
Right, I know that. I know that, but you can't call it free speech then, right? The limit, but the limit, even
what our Canadian troops are fighting for in Afghanistan, we don't have.
Right.
Because they were fighting, according to Sun Media, for freedom of speech, which we don't have. But anyways.
Yeah. So even with the limits that we have on our free speech, okay, this rapper guy still didn't violate those because he didn't commit hate speech.
No.
So
he was making an artistic statement.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether you disagree with it or not, or whether you find it disturbing to your worldview, because your worldview is so vulnerable and easily cracked and destroyed, somebody who says something different than you totally bothers you to the core of yourself because you're so rigid in your stance about something. Well, then, yeah, of course, like Sun Media, you're going to be like, I don't like what he's saying, and I think this is horrible.
Here's the disconnect, man.
Bitch and moan about something else.
Here's the disconnect.
Next?
Yeah, here's the disconnect. Sun Media was saying that just because someone has identified the fact that some Afghanis are angry that they're being occupied means that the person who identified that fact is in support of those angry people doing the terrible things that they intend to do to the people they're angry at.
Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no. Somebody is actually being realistic and saying, hey guys, those guys over in Afghanistan, we go over there and what happens is we end up killing and shooting and maiming their children and women, and they're upset. And it's like, and this is how they feel, and this is what they're going to do. And you know, to question that or to say that or to even just describe something, yeah, you know what? I'm going to say it, Tony. I'm going to say it right now.
Do it.
Okay. I definitely would not. I am not a supporter of our troops being in Afghanistan. That doesn't mean that I can't have friends that I know that are in the military that have been deployed. That doesn't mean that I hope that something bad happens to them. I'm sad for what's happening to them. And you know what? I do side with people in Afghanistan who are upset about what's happening in their country, because I feel the exact same thing about my country, and I would be just as upset.
Yeah, well, it feeds into part of the reason we want those troops home, right? And as long as even we're there training some Afghanistanis to fight the other Afghanistanis, I think we're committing acts of war in so doing.
Well, God forbid, could you imagine foreign troops dividing Canada and saying, you know, these are the good Canadians, the Canadians that support the occupation, and those are the bad ones, and we're going to kill the bad ones because they're terrorists, because this is the word that they throw around all the time. And I mean, a terrorist, you know, the whole thing is that the word is a charged word.
Yeah.
And by charged, I mean that it no longer, when you say terrorist, you literally set off alarms in people's heads because they've been programmed to accept the word terrorist in a certain way. And not every person who is labeled as a terrorist is actually a terrorist. Some of those people consider themselves to be freedom fighters. You know, it all depends again on perspective. Just like this rapper from Quebec, Manny Military. When Mrs. Military, I wonder what she thinks about her son right now.
I don't know,
but
it's hard to say. Hopefully, she at least respects his right to have free speech. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think Frank Zappa was when he was in the hearings in the United States, when Al Gore and Tipper Gore were going batshit crazy. And he made a good point, and he was talking about this is tangent I'm on here, but anyways, I'll wrap it up really quick. He was talking about how musicians and songwriters and singers are trapped by a different, like, people look at them differently than actors. Somebody can make a movie about what happened in Nazi Germany or about what happened in Rwanda, and they don't look at the actors in that movie and they say, man, how could you have played a role where you were Hitler? That guy is evil. They watch the movie
totally
and they know that it's an actor playing Hitler.
Right.
Well, musicians are doing the same goddamn thing, and so are artists. If they're good artists, that's what they know how to do. They're like, the whole idea. I mean, when Frank Zappa was talking about it, was saying why it's wrong to label records with different labels like parental advisory or violence and all these different things, because sometimes artists know how to display things in a non-intellectual way, an artistic way, where they open people up to different perspectives. And musicians don't get the same credibility as actors. I mean, you have to be a pretty serious director or actor and write something really crazy like Sallow for people to go, oh my god, this is fucking disgraceful and horrible and disgusting.
Yeah.
You know,
the Pier Pasolini movie, for people that don't know, which featured Nazi bondage and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it was based on like Desaad and stuff, and it really, and it's a disturbing film. I'm not saying that. You watch it and you feel like, oh my god, that was fucking horrible. I just did a horrible thing to myself. But that's because you know that director knew what he was trying to display. And yet you don't, you know, in movies, you don't blame this as much on the actors, but singers and musicians are often, it's almost like, because they don't take on a separate personality when they do it, when they're just them producing music, that they're all of a sudden accused of holding all these viewpoints that isn't fair to just, it's just not right to attribute to them when they make you think about something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was actually, while you were saying that, I was just kind of drifting back through Sallow, because I only saw it once, and it was quite a while ago now.
But you only want to watch that movie once.
Yeah, that's not a repeat watcher.
I can't believe we're talking about Sallow in Opposition Radio, but anyways.
Well, anyway, to our listeners, check it out. You might have a memorable experience with that movie.
Yeah, it's a curious document. It really is.
Did Pasolini get killed for that, or was he?
Was Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Is that in intelligence circles, the Operation Gladio, where the CIA left its resources, the CIA coming in 1947, taking over for the OSS, but took over the resources of the OSS in Europe, and after the defeat of the Germans, started to support the right wing, and to the extent where the right wing was making bombings and assassinations and blaming them on the left, and Pasolini, there's a good chance that he was assassinated by operatives working within the Operation Gladio construct.
Yeah. And
you know, you watch the movie and you think about that, and it's just mind-blowing. It really is. And you know, I have that movie. I own a copy of it, and I've only ever watched it twice, and I don't know if I will ever watch it again, because the artist that made the movie and the director did such a good job on it that you are disgusted by what you see, and you should be, because he basically shows you in an artistic form the horrors of fascism.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's well worth watching. I will recommend it to anybody. And yes, you will need to kind of, you know, be prepared to see some things that you haven't seen before. You know. Do you want to move on, Mike? Do you want to? Talk about perversions and. and crimes of domination and murder and stuff like that. Talk about
Canada's got a new pervert killer that we should link up with some online surveillance. What do you think, Tony?
Well, you know what? I was thinking that I was going to change my mind on Bill C-30 because of Luca Magnotta
C-30.
Rosso or Brasso or whatever his name is. You know,
Yeah.
because thank God the cops were able to track him down, and you know, and without Bill C-30, do you think that would have been as possible? You know?
Well, isn't that kind of the irony? Because from what I understand, and I agree with you 100%. You know, if he is guilty of these crimes that he's been accused of, then he needs to be dealt with. I mean, there's no question about that. Absolutely. But what do the Conservatives do the second that Luca Rocco Magnotta pops up? Well, you know, I think it gives them the chance to, in their spin room, they sit back and they go, well, I think we could come back with our internet surveillance law again and say, like, we could have caught this guy when he was just killing kittens and not killing people. And how, you know, people, what are they going to say? I mean, geez, if you could have just got him, he was killing kittens.
Basically, for those who are not in the know, the Conservatives have tried to tie the Magnotta investigation and, you know, and how awesome it is that they are able to catch him to Bill C-30. They in high-level memos that the CBC got through access to information. The high-level Conservatives were planning to help associate the capture of Magnotta with Bill C-30, thereby pacifying or, you know, assuaging people's concerns about that very intrusive internet surveillance bill. So
I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
No, it's absolutely ridiculous. Even they've backed off of it already, you know, because the cops even came out and said, no, we had absolutely no problem tracking this guy down without the provisions. And Bill C-30, we didn't need any of that. We got our warrants right away. You know, it was not a big deal. You know.
Yeah. And isn't that the fucking thing that
the
always
Conservatives
comes
just
up?
don't
I
want
mean,
the Conservatives just don't want cops, the police, to have to go for a warrant when they want to do search and seizure on someone's computer.
Well, we talked about this
Or
before.
surveillance.
It really, Bill C-30 is an anti-judicial bill.
Right.
It wants to cut the judges out of the process. It wants to go, government says, police can. You know what I mean? It's a stupid law. We set our country up with judges as a distinct position in government that are supposed to make judgments. That's why they're called judges, based on the laws that are already set. So when you need to issue a warrant, a judge says, hey, we're going to issue you have proper evidence, we're going to issue a warrant, this guy we're going to go search and see what the hell this guy has. But Bill C-30 goes beyond that and basically would allow police to look at anything on as far as the internet goes. And like you just said, the police have already acknowledged that there are enough laws in place already where they can take a person like Luke Magnotta and they can deal with him. And now he's a suspect. Now he's he's been detained, and now he will be tried, and he will go through our justice system. And, you know, from here on out, Bill C-30 has no effect on this case. None.
Yep. So this because since most people don't understand that fact, maybe the Conservatives were just saying, why don't we try to pin the success of this case on Bill C-30? People that vote for us won't really understand that we're full of shit. You know what I mean? But I just don't see it, because Vic Taves got burned so bad, Mike. Vic Taves got burned so bad when he tried to do that disingenuous statement, you know, either you're with us or you're with the child pornographers. When he tried to tell people that this intrusive legislation.
Well, how would you interpret their second attempt at?
I guess this is kind of like round two, eh? It's like either Vic Taves versus the world round two. Either you're with us, or you're with the gay male stripper, prostitute, cannibal guys.
Pornographers.
Pornographer. Yeah, he is a pornographer too. He put it online. Yeah.